Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am here with Todd Branton, aka Lil Deuce Deuce, or you may have known him from the internet and music and various other music. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks. I think we'll start off with the questions that pretty much every internet person gets asked, and
Okay.
I think the first one that everyone gets asked is, how did you get your internet handle? How did you get the name Lil Deuce Deuce? How did you end up choosing that?
Well, it's kind of a dumb story. Basically, I started out doing parody raps, which I don't really do so much anymore on my channel. I was just trying to think of like the most stereotypical kind of like hip hop name that I could think of, but it hasn't really worked out because I don't really do as much of the hip hop stuff anymore. So it's kind of a weird handle, but once you get known for it, you're sort of stuck with it. So
Yeah, and then the other question would be is what got you started to putting videos and your music online? It's what drove you to put the music up rather than try and sell your music in a more traditional fashion.
Well, about 5 years ago, when I started like circulating songs just amongst friends, and like I was part of like message boards and forum communities where I would just like post pretty much exclusively for like the 20 or 30 people that would go on there. And then like, people started saying, hey, this is actually kind of funny. You should post it on YouTube. So I just put it up on there, and the first video I did kind of took off a little bit. So I guess I was lucky in that respect. At the time, I didn't really know anything about YouTube or the YouTube community. So it was a bit of a crash course in learning about all the different creators and all the different genres that you can find on YouTube.
Hmm. Uh, on the collaborators, you've worked with quite a lot of people, Tom Scar and Weeble. And how important would you say is collaboration, especially on sites like YouTube?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, I wouldn't have like so many of the opportunities that I've had to work with people are a direct result of other collaborations. Like collaborations lead to other collaborations and lead to discovering new people. I discover all sorts of new people all the time through the collaborations they do with other people that I know. So it's huge in terms of being able to introduce your work to new people.
Who would you say has been one of the better collaborators to work with?
Oh, I mean, obviously, I've been working with Tom for almost as long as I've been on YouTube. So, I mean, he's like an awesome guy to work with, and I love him to death. So it's been great working with him all these years.
Um, you said at the beginning that you started off doing these parody raps, and I think over the years you've done loads of different genres of music. What would you say is the best genre of music you've worked on over the
Oh,
years on
best.
YouTube?
I don't know. That's such a relative term. I enjoy everything I do. I mean, I have a background more as a music composer, which means that I'm often asked to adapt to different styles that I don't often, that I don't normally do. So in a way, I don't really have a strong identification with any one genre. I just try to, I mean, if I'm working for somebody else, I try to do whatever suits their project. And in a weird way, I guess that means I don't have a lot of a strong core as a musical artist, because like so much of what I do is just kind of trying to adapt to different scenarios and different circumstances and different projects. And that's why a lot of the music that I post on my channel is like remixes of things that I've created for other people.
Um, you've done music for movies and TVs as well as a traditional composer for movies and TVs. And what would you say is the differences between doing music for videos and projects on YouTube and online to traditional composing for movies and TV productions?
The immediacy is by far the hugest difference in the process. Where a lot of the time I'll have deadlines, and it'll be kind of a hurry up and wait thing on TV or with a movie where I'll work on something, and there'll be a very strict deadline. We got to get all this music done, and then it'll sit until it gets an actual until it gets a deal for like to be. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words here a bit. With a film, you might finish working on a film, and then you won't actually see it get distributed anywhere for like 2 years after that. Whereas with a YouTube video, I might be working on a YouTube video at 4 a.m. the night before it comes out, and then a million people will see it the next day. Like in the case of like something like Tom Scott's videos. So that's always crazy, the immediacy of being able to make changes right up until the last minute, and then see the results and get the feedback immediately. So that's fun. That's actually what's kind of the rush of YouTube, is being able to put your stuff out immediately and then get immediate feedback.
is it because of that immediacy? Do you prefer making videos for YouTube, or do you prefer making making music for traditional productions like TV and movies?
Well, I mean, a mix of both is nice. I mean, YouTube videos are they're a lot of fun, and a lot of time I get the more creative freedom to do strange things with YouTube videos, which is awesome. But I mean, I kind of need a mix of both in order to survive as an artist, because YouTube, is it's fun, but it also doesn't really pay as well to the creators. Like, I know creators are stretched really thin when they have a full crew of people working on a video. Trying to pay for people's services when they're just making AdSense rates is kind of difficult, and particularly if you're just starting out and you're trying to create something that is up to a professional standard, and you're going, well, I have a crew of people and I made $10 on this video, so how are we going to make this work or whatever. So,
do you prefer to make music alone, or do you always try to bring other people into the music as well, like with the guest stars you've had in your songs?
I love it when I can collaborate with people. I don't always do it because it's not always possible, but I mean, that's a huge part, is that there's only so much that I can do personally, and I have a lot of gaps in my skill set, so if I can bring in other vocalists or other guitarists or things like that, it's always great.
What actually got you into music? What got you into composing and playing the instruments?
Well, my biggest influence by far is my father, who is also a musician. So he was teaching me from a young age, and I have a lot of respect for him. He also he was into YouTube huge in like 2006 to 2009. And at the time, I wasn't into it, and I didn't understand him when he would become obsessed with putting out videos, and he'd be like, "This new video got X number of likes or X number of views," and I didn't understand at the time what the appeal of it was. But then when I started, years after he had kind of stopped doing YouTube, I was the one being obnoxious to him and saying, "Oh man, I just put this new video out. It's so exciting." So,
what sort of videos did your father put out? Was it
he put out
music as well?
Yeah, he put out a bit of music, but actually what he mainly did was a channel called 10th Dim that was kind of like his, kind of philosophical musings on his theories of like quantum mechanics, and he had a video that kind of went a bit viral called "Imagining the 10th Dimension." He wrote a book about the video at the time got a couple million views, which was pretty big in the early days of YouTube, and it was kind of about I don't know if I can fully explain it because I don't fully understand it myself, but it was his musings on kind of trying to imagine multiple dimensions.
Have you ever considered branching out into other styles of videos, like doing like videos like your father did about science and things like that, as well as music?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is that once you start, I mean, definitely, I do kind of think in terms of comedy a lot, but definitely once you get into when people sort of expect a certain type of video from you, it's hard to imagine just going completely, out of left field. I mean, there's definitely that at some point you start to censor yourself based on what you think your imaginary audience wants, even if that's not necessarily true. Like, you start to think, oh, if I do this type of video, are people just going to be alienated by it? Or so occasionally I think of doing, other types of videos, but mainly it's just like I think of bad comedy concepts that I want to do, but then I'm too kind of chicken to put it out because I'm worried that people will want more kind of music based rather than just bad comedy.
Has some of those bad comedy ideas sort of wormed their way into some of your other projects like Dr. Monster?
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Monster is fairly classic kind of pun based, so that's fun. Most of the bad ideas I have are more just like really, really short, tossed off kind of ideas. Like, I don't know. So, for instance, I watch a lot of, ASMR?
Yeah.
Yes, I watch a lot of ASMR videos, but then, like, occasionally I'll think, oh, I should do an ASMR parody because I'm kind of familiar with everything that's in, that community. But then I think, well, it's kind of a stretch because it's like, I'm not associated with it at all. And it's the sort of thing I'll think of ideas like that where I could do an ASMR parody video, but it would be just kind of completely out of nowhere to people who follow me and know me only for music. So those are the sorts of bad ideas I generally don't actually make.
Uh, what is your usual work pattern for doing things on YouTube? Is it like you said before, rather a much quicker, a very fast work cycle for making music on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is that it depends on the project, but like for instance, like I said, Tom Ridgewell is the guy I work with most. And generally, if he shoots a sketch, he'll get it to me on like Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night, and I've got like 1 or 2 days to score it and get it to Dan Pugsley, the guy who does sound for his videos, by Thursday night or Friday morning, and then it gets put out on the Friday. So it's a very compressed schedule to try to capitalize on the fact that you just need to be constantly putting out new material on YouTube.
You've played many instruments over the years, and you played like the drums and the guitars. And what would you say is your best instrument, and what would you say is your most favorite instrument?
Both my best and my favorite instrument is definitely drums. Like that's the one I have the most experience playing live, and the one I feel the most confident in.
What got you started in playing the drums?
Oh man, I just loved the idea of drums growing up. I didn't actually start playing till I was 16, but I was always just air drumming and banging on things and making noise growing up. So.
What advice would you give to other aspiring musicians trying to break out onto YouTube and online?
Well, I don't know, because it's kind of different whether you're wanting to be somebody who scores for other music or whether you want to be an original artist. I mean, definitely the sorts of things that are good advice for musicians that I don't follow myself are, trying to, like, if you're going to be a parody-based musician, trying to do things that are based around topics that people are searching for, or if you're going to be an original artist, trying to find ways to integrate yourself with other artists doing like-minded things. I don't know. It kind of depends on what type of musician that you see yourself as and what you're trying to achieve, I guess.
What style would you consider harder? Would it be doing the original music or doing the parodies? What one would you say has been the most difficult over the years?
Well, I think I don't actually put out a lot of wholly original music. Like, I have a lot of respect for people like do you know Andrew Huang?
Yeah, I've heard that name before.
Yeah. People like Andrew or Rob Scallon, who I've worked with a bit, they do a lot of original music, and I think that's the hardest thing, is trying to find something that the hook or whatever. Like, I know Rob put out just original music, and it was beautiful guitar music for a long time, and it was, he had a core following of fans that followed him, but then when he kind of found a hook in terms of like do you know Rob Scallon's work at all?
Slightly, not that much.
So yeah, he's an amazing guitarist. I've been lucky enough to work with him a couple times now, but he puts out a lot of like calm instrumental music, and then his channel really took off because he started doing like ukulele, like Slayer covers and stuff like that, and that became a whole in terms of a way of being relevant, because it was sort of a way of sharing it, because it was like, hey, check out this guy playing Slayer on a ukulele, or Metallica on a banjo or whatever. Like, he was coming up with like unconventional ways to play metal, and I think that kind of became a way to draw more attention to his original music, because he found a more parody based thing that kind of brought in people. So I think on YouTube it's always a dance between trying to do what you actually want to do and then trying to find ways to be relevant, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Is how hard would you say is it to stay relevant? Is it a constant ongoing process through to be sort of relevant in that sort of way?
I think it's definitely difficult. Like, honestly, there are times when I'm torn, because I think there's the tendency to be very analytical and not follow what you actually want to do, but to just try to like analyze what are people searching for, what are people sharing. And there's times where I wonder, like, I kind of panic and think, should I be trying to do more kind of trendy shareable stuff? And then I sit down and I go, well, I'm 33 and I'm kind of older than the average audience of people who are on YouTube, so I'm not really plugged into like, I'm kind of like the crotchety uncle at this point of YouTube. I don't really know what the kids are into, so You know, there's times where like Five Nights at Freddy's 4 was released recently, and I was sort of thinking, yeah, I don't know, like maybe I should have done a Five Nights at Freddy's song, even though I don't actually like the series at all. Like, or not that I don't like it, but just I'm not really connected to it. Like, there's that whole kind of cynical part of YouTube of trying to just look at what people are doing and sharing, and then I'm always kind of torn because I'm always a half step behind those trends. Sometimes I feel like.
Would you consider sharing like and social media sort of important?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, particularly now with the state of YouTube, subscribers are a lot less important than they used to be, I think. And people talk about like the sub box being broken, and I think that's partially true, but I think it's also just the oversaturation of there's just so many people on YouTube now. Like, even, I'm subscribed to a couple hundred people just because they're all people I genuinely want to watch their videos, and I might only end up watching 40% of the videos of the people I'm subscribed to, and I'm somebody who's kind of on YouTube and not just a casual user. So I can understand why people are getting things like only 10% of their subscribers watching their videos. So, I mean, since there isn't as much of a guaranteed, push at the beginning of a video from your subscribers, you do have to rely a lot more on being able to do things that are shareable and that are going to be shared on things like, Twitter and Facebook and all
that. How would you say that YouTube has changed over the years to what it was when you first started doing it, and to how YouTube is now?
I think that recommendations from other creators used to carry a bigger push, if that makes any sense. Like, when I posted one of my earliest videos, and like the way I got in touch with Tom Bridgewell is that he liked one of my videos, and that was enough to cause all of his fans to come en masse and kind of like be like, Tom Scott sent me, and at the time I was like, well, who the hell is Tom Scott? Because I didn't follow YouTube at all. But it was a huge noticeable push, and I think now, just partly due to the way that YouTube is set up, where you don't see as many, the activity feeds of creators as much, and partly just because of like I said, the fact that there's so many more people on the platform, it's harder to get a push like from a single action, like somebody liking a video or recommending it. You kind of need to have multiple sources promoting a video now for it to be getting a noticeable push in traffic.
Where would you want YouTube to go in the future? What sort of things would you want YouTube to change or to put in?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used to, things like I used to complain about the sub box, just like everyone, because that's just kind of like something you have to do as a YouTube creator. But I'm starting to realize that it's as much about just the way that people use YouTube as much as something to do with the actual platform itself. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I think that YouTube's doing its best with the massive, just this massive number of people on YouTube. It's got to be a difficult kind of juggling act to figure out how to deal with everything on the platform.
Have you ever considered using other video platforms? Because there's other video platforms like Vimeo and all the others. Have you considered sort of setting up another channel on those and putting your music onto those sites as well?
Well, I think Facebook is definitely starting to become bigger, and they're definitely trying to set themselves up as a direct competitor to YouTube. And Facebook at the time doesn't really have any monetization, but there's the whole issue with Facebook freebooting, which I hope that they figure out a way to fix. I'm assuming like about the freebooting. Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely something where, like, you see people who put a video on YouTube and it gets, like, even people from like an established with an established subscriber base, like somebody like Jax Films, he, during the whole blue dress thing that was a couple months ago, he put up a video about it, and the original video on his channel got 500,000 views, and then somebody stole it and ripped it and put it up on Facebook, and they got 21 million views or whatever. And I think it shows that that Facebook is aware that they're pushing a lot of traffic towards video, and that's why they're going, well, why should we be pushing all this stuff to a different platform and making money for Google when we can make this money for ourselves? And I think that's why YouTube had the whole panic about trying to set up Google Plus, is that they realized that a lot of their views were coming from social networks, and like, well, we need to set up our own social network so we're not like reliant on other people to be pushing, traffic to us. And so I think that definitely Facebook could end up being, if not overtaking YouTube, then kind of being an equal competitor. And I think at some point I'm probably going to have to start becoming a little more Facebook savvy, because I don't do much on Facebook, but it seems to be that's the way it's trending towards in terms of the way people are discovering video.
What do you think of social media? Because you mentioned Google Plus, and there's been fair amount of animosity towards Google Plus over the years. What do you think of the social media like Google Plus, and how does it really affect, you would say, your view counts and things for your videos?
Well, I mean, Google Plus itself is kind of dead, so it's a non-factor. But definitely, if something like Facebook, like I said, is a huge indicator of things being shared, and so yeah, I mean, definitely, like it's becoming more about social media in terms of the way that people discover things, as opposed to discovering it on the platform, I think.
I think we'll leave it as that.
Great, thanks. Sorry, I realize my answers are kind of rambling, and I feel
no, it's fine. It's fine. Where would people find you online?
Well, there's youtube.com/Lil Deuce Deuce. I have a website that I should probably update more, but it's lildeucedeuce.com, and I put up videos and weekly blogs on there and stuff like that now. So that's as good a place as any, I guess, to discover what I'm about. I gave you a good Canadian about there, by the way. I hope you appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Will.